Hey, welcome back to another video. I have a topic today that I think will be helpful for you. It's something that, like always, it seems to come up in discussion with other people. And that's proving things to yourself and stop expecting different results. What I mean by this is we get into this loop where we don't want to believe what is right in front of us. And the first question is why is it so hard to see the truth? And the first thing I just have to say on this is not an uncommon trap for people to get into. It's very easy to start going down this rabbit hole of our own internal chaos, trying to rationalize and figure out what happened and to come up with some type of solution that will help us try to cram a round peg into a square hole. It's denial. You get caught up in not wanting to believe what's right in front of you. You're so fixated on believing the illusion or wanting to get the illusion back that you just cannot stop going down this rabbit hole of chaos. And I've gone through this in the past myself. You start beating yourself up going, it can't be true. I went through that a lot. It's like, this what I'm seeing is not real. It's something different. I'm overreacting and I'm looking for excuses. I don't know how many times I would say, well, it can't be NPD or this other thing. I'm just looking for a reason. I'm looking for an excuse on why we're in this situation, why these things are happening. It's like you know the truth, you know the answer, but you just can't accept it. It wasn't always like this. And this is where the love bombing at the beginning of a relationship or beginning of a situation or even a friendship, you get caught up in that illusion of what the relationship was originally, and you keep trying to go back to get that. It's like you want that initial feeling, euphoria, the excitement, all that wrapped up into that first part of this. And you're like, what happened? It used to be like this. I'm trying to get back to that result. And then I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. It's like, well, they're just having a bad day. It isn't normally like this. There are good days. I don't know how many times. I don't know how many times I got caught up in that trap where I would make excuses. I would say, well, I'm having a bad day. They're having a bad day. This where I feel right now. And in retrospect, now I can look back and it was a clear view of what was really going on. It's like the veil would drop off. I would see clearly, but in my own mind, because I was so caught up in the denial and the illusion of what I wanted things to be, that I would make excuses with myself to basically say, well, this is just right now. This isn't how I normally feel. This isn't the way things really are. Things are just off. Tomorrow I'll feel better. And you push through and you put it all in a little box. And the next day is better because you've ignored what's right in front of you. You prolonged the chaos for one more day, for one more moment. Excuses do not change reality. You can rationalize, you can ruminate, you can go through all these different phases, and the reality is it isn't going to change what is right there looking in your face. That right there is a tough statement because we don't want to believe it. What it comes back down to, the first thing on this, denial and belief in that illusion. You really just don't want to. You don't want to believe it. But here's the thing: everybody knows the old Einstein quote. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. How many people have gotten to that trap? I know I have. 2 decades it took to ultimately finally say, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. I have to try something different. Bottom line, we are our own worst enemies. We get into our own way for our own preservation, self-interest, positive future. It's like I was chatting with someone the other day. I made the comment that the answers are right there in front of our face, and they're super simple. They're not complicated. It's not some extraordinary mathematical equation that only a few people can figure out. It's really simple. And it's basically taking a step back and getting out of our own way to be able to make the progress, the forward momentum that we need to make to affect change. There's all kinds of reasons why you get caught into that. I mean, denial and illusion. I mean, that's the crux of it. It can also just be a limiting belief that you ultimately don't believe you deserve more, and you're comfortable with it. You make excuses for it. Well, this is what everyone deals with. This is the way things are. And you rationalize and make excuses for it because you don't want to see the reality. I remember having a conversation with one of my kids, thinking about when I was growing up, how people normalize toxic behavior. Well, boys are like this, girls are like that. Well, ultimately, you don't have to make excuses for toxic behavior. Now, I get it that everyone can't be an angel, and everyone does have personality issues, not issues, but they have their own thing. I have my own bad days where I get into a mood, but is that the norm? And that's where you get kind of stuck on this whole thing, because you can rationalize, well, it's not the norm. And you can accept people pushing your boundaries. Boundaries are so damn important. That I think is the key to it. It's boundaries, and it's the fear of losing what you think you have. Losing that illusion, losing that fantasy of what you think you have or had. This is really important for people going through this and the early stages of it, because you're going to you start just going in this infinite do loop, or this feedback loop, trying to figure out, how did I get to this point? What happened? And the reality is you just ignored the warning signs. You wanted the illusion more than you wanted to face reality. You wanted the idea of the situation you were in, as opposed to what's it going to be like on the other side. The comment of the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know, which is absolutely not true. It took me 2 decades to realize that. You have to accept reality for what it is. Now, if you want to accept reality and with open eyes and actually, I was talking to someone about this the other day too. Somebody who has worked through, they understand that there are toxic traits in their relationship, but they understand what it is. They see it for the reality of what it is, and they've accepted it, and they're building their life around that. The problem is whenever you're living in reality, but you have reality, but you're in a fantasy. That was the hardest thing for me. Whenever I realized that and I know I've talked about this before, but there was a comment at one point when things were starting to fall apart, where the comment was made, well, you don't even know who I am. You don't even know who I am. And I had this realization. Those words just hung in the air, friggin' like hit like a ton of bricks. That holy crap. I've been in this at this time, what was it, 2 decades, in this relationship, and I never realized who I was in a relationship with. I kept focusing on and fixating on the fantasy and the idea and the ideal of what I thought was going on. And the crazy part was, at that moment, I almost was able to say, oh crap, okay, now I see it. The problem with toxic people is whenever they start to realize that they're losing their effect on you, they change in an instant. It just, boop, like a pin, or not a pin drop, but just, flipping a switch, hot to cold. And then it just then it destroys everything. Bottom line, you have to ask yourself, do you want to continue to live like this? If you're in a relationship, if you're out of a relationship, if you're ruminating about things, do you like where your life is right now? Do you want to live like this? My guess is almost everyone is going to say, no. But the reality is that you have to start doing stuff to take your life back. You have to take, like I say on this bullet, start taking active steps to take your life back. Sitting there, I don't know how many, okay. I went through this where I got caught up in that infinite do loop, trying to rationalize, trying to fight with myself, saying that what I think is reality isn't reality. I'm making up excuses for it, and that gets you nowhere. What you've got to stop doing is giving these people real estate in your head, in your mind, in your heart, and start focusing on things that make your life better. I'm not talking just like, okay, let's do me. It's like, take a step back and ask yourself, are you happy with where things are? The answer more than likely is probably no. So what do you do to make things better? I was chatting with someone the other day. We were talking about interacting with people. So, basically feeling lonely. You can take steps to change your environment. God, I look at all the different things that I've gone through over the last 15 years, the different people I've met. Some people are still friends. Some people have, moved on, and that's okay. But it's a growth process, and you have to take control. Or not control. Control's part of it, but responsibility. If you want different results, start doing different things. Start making different decisions. Start putting different things in your environment, in your space, to help achieve that. Learn something new. Do something different. And it's different for everybody. I mean, everyone has different interests or directions you want to go. Like for me, I like doing video stuff. I like trying to make short stories or videos, especially on the camping channel, that that have a vibe and a feeling to it. So there's some frustration in doing that as well. But I mean, it's something I like to do. This radio thing, which I sometimes wonder why I'm doing it, but it's fun and it gets me out. It kind of forces me to go do something. I mean, there have been times where I get to where I don't want to do anything and I just end up not even leaving the house. And it's like, it's too long to do this. It's too long to do that. Why do I want to put the time into it? What's the point? That type of thing. And it's something that forces me to push myself to go do something. And that's part of the main issue, is just taking steps to put one foot in front of the other to move you forward. Here's the thing. Ruminating about the past is leading nowhere. It's not getting you anywhere. It's actually keeping you stuck. And it's sad whenever I work with people who are stuck in that mode to where they just completely keep defaulting back to that. And I get it. It's an easy trap trap's not the right word. It's an easy situation to get stuck in, because it's just you keep asking that question, why? Why is it like this? Why are they so difficult? Why does it have to be so complicated? It doesn't need to be this way. The reality is, and this is what I talk about in my Absolute Thinking video, which you can find on the main page, is more than likely they're stuck with a problem. And sometimes being able to put a name to that, to define it, helps you to say, okay, I get it. I get what this is. This is the reason why. Let's move on and stop thinking about that. Stop ruminating about that and start focusing on where you want to go. And I say the life, but I mean the life you want to live. If you don't start taking steps toward that, you're not going to move forward. And this rolls into the theme that I often talk about, that even for me, my perspective ultimately changed, not because something changed, not because I caught the person and they were held accountable, or the situation changed, or the kids did this or that. It was because I just decided I couldn't keep beating my head against the wall, or just get back over here, that I was driving myself insane doing the same thing over and over again and expecting what? What was I expecting? Did I really think that something was going to change? And I know we all get caught in that trap. Because you want things to be different. If I just write this 17-page novel explaining why what they're doing is wrong, they will see the light. Oh my God, the time I wasted doing that. The time I imagine you're probably have wasted or are currently wasting doing that yourself. You got to stop doing that to yourself. Take steps to take your life back. And here's the crazy part. I think most of us know what we need to do. You may not want to accept it. You may not want to confront it, but it's right there. You know what you need to do. You know you need to eat better. You know you need to exercise. You know you need to change who you hang out with. You know that you should stop seeing certain people. Sometimes it's just hard to do that. But the reality is, on the other side of it, when you do that, when you put in that work and you start to take ownership and responsibility for your life, things change. Your perspective changes. The one final thing I just want to leave you with, for me, what I used to think was important, what I would wrap my head around and get tense about and stressed about, anxious about, I now realize isn't even worth the energy and the time to focus on. Does it move the needle? No. All it does, well, let me back up. It does move the needle. It moves it backwards. It doesn't help you achieve any personal growth or success. It just keeps you stuck. So if you're beating yourself up and you're stuck in this ruminating cycle of chaos, understand that it's a hard. Remember at the beginning of this, I was saying that the solutions are easy, but it's hard to get to the solution. The solution is you release it and let it go. You stop giving energy and focus and attention to that, and you start putting your intentions into other areas. When you do that, your perspective changes, things get better, and you start to take your life back. So think about that, and I'll catch you on the next one.